Hey guys, welcome back to the Franchise Tag Podcast, Season 2, Episode 9. Coming back at you. As always, we're going to blitz through our PickEms recap, then we're going to go into our game-by-game stuff, a couple different topics, go into our segment, into the stocks, into the PickEms. You know the drill by now. And go check us out on Spotify if you prefer getting your podcast there, because we do be uploading, in fact.
Yes. And kicking us off with the pick'ems, last week we actually were identical, even down to our lock of the week. So I can kind of say for both of us, we went 11-5, and we both picked the Lions to win, which that was a good lock of the week. So that hit. So that brings my total for the year to 75-48 with a 4-4 lock record, and it brings your total on the year to a ever so slightly better record of 80-43. So 5 games there, but then your locks, you're killing me at 6-2 for the locks versus my 4-4.
Yeah, and unfortunately, with one of my missed locks, I just let my ego get to my head as a Patriots fan, and I locked the Patriots over the Jets in a very stupid decision. I picked the wrong Jets game to do that. But anywho,
Yep.
we'll jump into the game-by-game recap. We've got Thursday Night Football. That was a pretty decent game throughout. And then the last drive, Sam Darnold gets his face mask grabbed in the end zone. Ref goes, nah, his head just did that, and didn't throw a flag on it. And it was a safety, Rams ball. And look, the Vikings were still going to have to drive 95 yards to get a touchdown
Yeah.
to tie it. It's not like it was likely that they were going to come back. But
Well, you call the face mask and, you get a first down and you get the extra downs. It's a lot of distance, but it's also a Vikings team that this year has been able to perform really well, and you always have Justin Jefferson open. And those late game moments, that final drive, it could have been really impactful of, oh, that's call this, and then go down, tie, we go to overtime, whatever the case may be. However, that's not what happened, and the ref could not see directly in front of him.
the LASIK Twitter account went crazy for that one. I was just like, I saw it and I was like, man, that's a bad call. I wonder how bad Twitter's going to react to this. And it was just every single tweet for like endless scrolling was that. And in every single response, the top one was LASIK.com saying we offer
Yeah.
free LASIK to NFL referees. And I was like, they were just like, all right, anything that mentions Vikings, we're responding to it.
Yeah,
and
no, it was
yeah.
it was hilarious because I saw the LASIK tweet of like, oh, blah blah blah, and it's like a whole thread from LASIK, and then I'm like, oh, haha, that's funny, and then I continue down my timeline and then click into one, and the top reply is LASIK, and I'm like, okay, so this is going to be a recurring thing. Yeah, no, that was definitely. It was a good game. It was a good get back game for the Rams, getting their guys back and immediately Puka Nacua picking up right where he left off after 2 days of practice. But yeah, just kind of unfortunate timing for the Vikings to have the minor little missteps they did, and then the big call at the end, which kind of gets exacerbated because a big moment, missed call. But the players will be telling you like, oh well, there's other plays in the game that could have decided it, but
Yes,
took them
LASIK
out.
transition into Jameis, who got LASIK. And this is kind of a victory lap for us. We both really wanted to see Jameis play, and I had posted a couple of the clips on TikTok about like talking about Deshaun Watson and how we really were not fans of him and how I really wanted to see Jameis come in. And yeah, I was vindicated because there were some replies to those clips, and I doubled
There's a
down
lot of
after
coping.
that. Yeah, I doubled down after those replies. Next episode, I was like, I see those replies. I'm responding directly to you. I'm doubling down. And now, Deshaun Watson, no 300-yard games as a Brown. Jameis Winston, one game as a Brown, 334 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. I mean, he had plenty of footballs thrown that were not good throws, but they weren't picked. So
Yeah. Yeah, like turnover worthy, like, oh, if there was someone there. And
there wasn't a Brown there. There
would have
wasn't
been.
a Raven there. There was nobody.
Yeah, big win for the Browns there in that divisional game too. I mean, I was hearing it kind of, oh, Deshaun's done for the year. Jameis Winston isn't going to lead us to the playoffs. It's not going to be a whole Cinderella story. And like, I was like, oh yeah, the team overall isn't that great, and the play calling's had its issues. But I mean, a mid quarterback. Sorry, Jameis, but like you're the good backup role. Like, let's admit it, he's playing really, really good as a relief quarterback throughout his years, and he just made the Browns beat the Ravens. So like, it's possible.
Yeah, I think it's the Joe Flacco effect, and it's the same thing that they did with Flacco last year. They're going to do with Jameis, and I don't think that he is like a top 10 quarterback in the league. I don't think he's close to it, but I think he's definitely like a top 30 quarterback. I think he's better than at least a few NFL starters. So even if he's not like top of the league, he definitely gives them a much better chance to win than Deshaun ever would have. And unfortunately, they've got so much money tied up in Deshaun that they couldn't just say, okay, we're going to Jameis because he gives us a better chance to win. It's we're paying Jameis $1 million this year, and we're paying Deshaun $62 million this year. Yeah. So we're going to go ahead and start Deshaun. But I think that's enough ragging on the Browns. Well, not ragging. We were giving props to the Browns, ragging on the injured man.
Browns fans.
Yes, absolutely. And we can get into our game of the week if you would like. Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say, we can kick it off into the game of the week, which was more so like, the snore of the week up until the fourth quarter. And then it got fun. I think there was definitely better games for the, we could have picked. But overall, I think it redeemed itself from a, franchise tag game of the week. To name, what the fuck is the word I'm looking for? To garner that stamp, all right? It made its mark. It made a comeback there. Now, boy, oh boy, do the Bears have a offensive coordinator, play caller issue right now. They spoke about it during the broadcast that Caleb Williams was basically making the call. They were having the offense go get in formation, and then instead of saying a play in the huddle based on the formation that the defense came out in, then the offensive coordinator is like, okay, here's the play. And then Caleb Williams is like, okay, here's the play. So you're going out in formation, and then effectively everyone's coming right back, and he's having to talk straight into the ear of the wide receivers that are coming down. That's just a whole lot to try to do with a rookie quarterback, I feel. Like, you're playing away, you've got crowd noise going on, and here you are trying to make like these tight-knit communications just more difficult when like you could just, like, on one hand, yes, it makes it easier on Caleb because he's not having to diagnose if he needs to check out of a play based on the formation the defense is in. On the other hand, you're doing so much and you're wasting so much of that clock time that when the ball is snapped and he has like this play down, but okay, what if this wide receiver runs the wrong route because he couldn't hear you over all of the crowd noise, or this tackle goes on the wrong snap count, and now you got these issues coming in. And I felt like that was just an odd game plan choice. Maybe do that at home. Don't do that when you're playing away. Go silent count, just call the plays, run them as they show up, and give Caleb a little bit of the flexibility to be like, nah, I want to check this to a run, and do that.
I mean, you see it all the time, the like hands on the helmet, and then everybody does it, and they're like, okay, so it's that play, or it's that check, or it's that changed, that alteration to the play. So that's something you can do no matter the crowd noise. Receiver looks over at the quarterback, he sees the quarterback put his hands on his head, and it's like, okay, so we're running that play. So there are ways to get around it. There are better ways to call plays, and I think the Seahawks are right to celebrate the departure of their offensive coordinator. And, I don't think it can get much worse than Luke Getsy, but I don't think it got very much better.
Lateral moves.
Yeah. Now, we can talk about Sunday night and Monday night football, but I don't want to.
Yeah.
So
no, I think, just to finish up the big thing of the game at the end, an offensive lineman fumbled at the goal line. All right. So there's another decision that's very, very questionable. And then we also have to talk about, the whole Hail Mary, like, this is what makes it a game of the week, like, worthy caliber of game. Like, you gotta shout out that fucking just insane Hail Mary from them. Shout out to Noah Brown for reeling that one in after the tip.
It was Tyreek Stevenson's fault. He was supposed to be
Yeah.
glued to Noah Brown, and it's even worse, right? So I was scrolling Twitter today, as I do. I'm chronically online, unfortunately. Follow me on there, because I'll be posting some funny stuff occasionally. But I saw a screenshot of Tyreek Stevenson's hand hitting the ball, and where the ball was going was to Kevin Byard's hands. So if Tyreek Stevenson did not touch the ball, it was getting picked by Kevin Byard. Instead, Tyreek Stevenson, who is supposed to be manned up on Noah Brown, or like glued to the guy that's there to catch the tips that he can't catch it, he's creating the tip to the guy he's supposed to be. So it was just a horrific play from Tyreek Stevenson. And that's not even mentioning the fact that he was yelling at the crowd when the play started. Like he was waving at the crowd. That QJB video of him doing Road to Glory as a corner, and then he's like, "Oh shoot, the play started," and then just dives and misses the ball. Yeah, that's Tyreek Stevenson, and it's just unfortunate. It's a bad look, but it was good to see him take the accountability for it. He was like, "Hey, that's on me. That is entirely my fault. I was talking to Bears fans, but yeah." It's just a rough look for the Bears when it's such a winnable game, and you see so many Hail Marys like in recent memory. It's like the Aaron Rodgers Hail Marys are the ones that are just caught, and then the Hail Murray, the Kyler to D Hop. There's that one.
Those are the recent memory ones.
And then everything else is like tipped caught. AJ Green did that. Noah Brown just did it. There's been so many where it's just it's not it's entirely avoidable what happened, and tip the ball down. I think it was I don't remember who it was. It's some mid 2010 safety. I think like James Ahedigbo or something. Like it's something like that. I've got the real funny brain today. Yeah, James Ahedigbo tipped a ball that was caught by AJ Green in the end zone. He was on the Ravens at the time. It was a divisional matchup. Anywho, I don't know how much of that I'm going to leave in, but we can move to whatever else.
Yeah. Once again, we aren't really going to talk about Sunday Night Football. Good win for the 49ers. Cowboys are playing Cowboys football. That's really all that needs to be said on that.
CD went off in garbage time, I guess.
Yeah. This game did provide our player of the week. So there's that. But we don't really like talking about the Cowboys. We can just move on past Sunday Night Football, as we like to call it, the new Thursday Night Football. Now, Monday Night Football, a game you don't really want to talk about.
Well,
I at least have a couple points on.
I thought Russ looked great, honestly. Like I'm having to eat the bullet of just like saying that Fields deserved to start, and I still think he deserves a shot in the league. I don't think he played badly, but I mean, Russ looked like he was in Seattle again. Like this is Russ we haven't seen in a while, and unfortunately, it's with Arthur Smith as coordinator, so it's not even his full potential. Like he could be doing better. But the drawn up plays to Darnell Washington are cool to see, because he's just it's cool seeing a 6'7", 270 tight end running down the field and hurdling people.
I was a big fan of Darnell Washington during that like pre-draft thing, and then it was like, oh, why is he slipping? And it was like a health thing. I was like, okay. Sadly, he goes to the Steelers, so he's not going to be that exciting. But I'm glad to see he's getting any usage right now. So that's always good to see. The points I had for the game were holy shit. Arthur Smith did not want to win this game. That's just very apparent. They're running a 4-minute drill, and it's just like, okay, how about instead we play action? And then, they're running a 2-minute drill, and okay, guys, they won't expect this. How about instead we play action? And it's like, sometimes you can just feed the running back, all right? Sometimes you can just let the things go. You can let the ball be ran and the clock run.
When Najee's gashing, you need to give him the damn ball.
Yeah. It's you're having a good running attack. It's not like your runs are being stuffed at the line every time you call it. It's genuinely succeeding right now. And that's when you make the decision of like, all right, they're not going to see this coming. And yet, yeah, they're not, because you shouldn't be doing it, but also it's not working either. So there's that. On the flip side, what the hell was that 2-point attempt?
Hey,
That was hilarious.
hey, the Colts going for it, fake punt on fourth down against the Patriots all those years ago. It's the same play, just different
Yeah.
result.
No, I was watching it and I was like, okay, they're really going to try this again? Like, after this is probably the most popularized failed thing ever. And they're like, yeah, let's use that for our inspiration this week.
Yeah, that's gonna just about do it for our game by game recap. Now we can get into just two topics that have gone on around the NFL. Well, I mean, I'm sure we'll talk about the other things that happened today, but Anthony Richardson has been benched, and handy dandy notes app. I have written down some thoughts so that I didn't lose them. So you draft Anthony Richardson if you're the Colts, right? You draft him as a very raw prospect. He has very, very, very little starting experience through high school, college, and into the NFL. He only plays 4 games his rookie season. He shows flashes, and that's what you expected. You got a raw, talented guy with every physical tool you can think of, and you just want to see what you've got in him. Now, you're benching him for a 39-year-old Joe Flacco, who is going to play on your team for this season. He will not be on your team past this season. And for what? You're going to get an outside shot at a playoff run? Like, you might make the playoffs if you have Flacco? And you might have made them with Anthony Richardson if you started figuring things out, but you didn't give him long enough to start figuring things out. The other thing, why draft him that highly, knowing that he's going to be a project, if you're just going to give up on the project? That's like buying an old car that's got a lot of potential, right? It needs a lot of work, but it's got the potential. It's a fixer-upper.
It's got good bones.
It's got good bones. You see the fixed up ones and how good they look, and you're like, wow, mine could look like that. You do one body mod to it, it comes out a little wonky, and you're like, all right, I'm throwing the car away. It's like, come on, like what are we doing here? And then the question that I posed to you, what's next for him? Is this a temporary thing where they're going to bench him for the rest of this year for the next few games as punishment for subbing out when he's tired? And then, like, they're going to put him right back in when Joe Flacco is, shows that he's 39 years old? Or is this the end for him in Indy? Is this going to be, all right, we tried it. We aren't willing to commit to that, so we would rather roll the dice with a journeyman that's, moving from team to team, or with whatever god awful quarterbacks are in this draft. So what is the future plan for Indy?
I feel like, so, just to get some background, clearly he did not play his best game of football this past Sunday. That's just very apparent. It's the truth. And yet somehow it didn't really feel like it was entirely as much his fault. Like, I didn't get to see the game live, but I watched a couple of videos of just like, here are the plays, some all 22, here's some breakdown for it. And it feels like there's just a little bit of like hesitancy in his game. It's not that he's throwing things that are just absolute ducks. Like, he's throwing it and it's hitting them in the hands, but it's also hitting them in the hands behind them a little bit. Like, he's not putting these balls pinpoint where it should be, where other quarterbacks would be putting it. I feel like it's kind of leaning where Bryce Young was leaning. I think the Bryce Young plan was, okay, we're going to bench him for the season and maybe see where we're at next season. I feel like that's probably the plan, but I don't understand why that's the plan here.
It's a different situation than Bryce Young, because with Bryce Young, it was, the team around him is so terrible that they can't support him. So benching him just kind of saves him. It's the sitting Drake May argument, where the offensive line isn't good, the weapons aren't good. So throwing a young quarterback into that mess is not a good way to do things. In Indy, you have good weapons. You drafted Adonai Mitchell to be your wide receiver 3 or 4. Like, it's not like you're struggling and starving for weapons. Your offensive line was top of the league a couple years ago, and after some injuries, everybody's healthy again. So you have a solid offensive line. You've got one of the better running backs in the league. Like, there's no purpose to benching him. Because like you said, the problem for him isn't the mental reps. He got plenty of mental reps when he was hurt last year. The problem is the physical taking reps. And he is only going to get better when he gets the starts and when he gets the reps, which you cannot get when you're playing Joe Flacco, who is not an option for the future. We've talked about Anthony Richardson for long enough. We can move off of this. We've been.
He's our newest Justin Fields. All right, we got to talk about him.
I believe in Fields more than I believe in Richardson. We are closing in on mid-season, and that means that we are starting to see the playoff race. Now, we have the current AFC and NFC playoff contenders in front of us. You will not be seeing them, but sorry about it. It is on the AFC side, it's the Chiefs, Texans, Steelers, Bills, Broncos, Ravens, and Chargers. And on the NFC, it's the Lions, Commanders, Falcons, Cardinals, Packers, Vikings, and Eagles. And those are the division leaders plus the 3 best teams in the conference. We are going to go through and tell you who is a contender and who is a pretender. And we could have gone through and done this for, I don't know, 25 teams, because I think we're at that point in the season where even some of the teams that have 2 wins, they could turn things around. But just to keep it a little bit more short and concise for you, we're just keeping it to the current active playoff picture. So we'll open things up with the 1 seed in the AFC, then move to 1 in the NFC, then 2 AFC, 2 NFC. We'll go like that. And I believe we're going to have the same take on the Chiefs and that they are contenders.
Yeah.
However,
they're contenders for the weirdest reasons.
Yeah, it's not their offense. It's not Mahomes. It's their defense being lights out. And it's not a fun lights out either. It's just a gritty lights out. But we'll have a Chiefs talk in a future episode where I will be civil about it. Moving on to the NFC, where we've got the 6-1 Lions as the 1 seed, and I'm sure we both agree on this one too, that they are the ultimate contenders.
Yep.
Both.
The Lions are winning in the weirdest ways. Again,
85 passing yards, was it?
It's actually fun to watch, though. So there's that.
Goff had 85 passing yards, was it?
I think he ended slightly higher than that.
Maybe like 86. All right, I gotcha.
Yeah, he didn't break 100. He had 3 incompletions, went 12 for 15, and 3 touchdowns. It was, it's, as I said, an interesting way to win.
Hey, they winning though.
By 52 to 14. That's a very interesting stat line for the quarterback to have.
Yeah, the Lions are just dominant in all facets. And then the Texans. I think they are contenders if they can continue, or if they can stay healthy from here on out, because they just lost Diggs to a torn ACL. Nico Collins has a hamstring injury. It's not a torn hamstring. It's not anything that's keeping him out for the season, but he's going to need to come back. Tank Dell is going to need to play at a high level. And then they're going to need one of either Xavier Hutchinson or John Mechie to step up in the absence of
the 2 guys above him.
Diggsy.
Yeah. I'd say that they're contenders, but it's kind of like it's thin ice as of right now, because I feel that you haven't been seeing CJ Stroud play as well as he did the year prior. That makes sense. Offense is down for most of the league because its passing defense has really shown out this year. So that's not to be expected. But they got Joe Mixon, and he's playing great ball. So you just got to hope that enough weapons come up in that wide receiver room to make sure that it's not just like the Joe Mixon show and teams don't hone in on that. You still got to get CJ Stroud those, he has to have some weapons to throw to. And, they're looking good. Diggs will be out for the year, though. I don't think that really shakes them out of the contending stage, though.
Yep. Then this 2 seed on the NFC side, we've got the Commanders. I think they're contenders. I think their defense is getting better. Mike Sandristel and Johnny Newton are both really nice rookie pieces for them on defense, and it's cool to see them both doing well.
Yeah, the defense is definitely doing quite well, because this is a team that has nearly won multiple games, like just field goal kicking. Like this past week, if the Bears didn't score and if they didn't need the Hail Mary, which the Hail Mary is just such a lucky, thing that happened, but they were set to probably win the game just with field goals, because that's like how the game was shaping up. And they've done that twice, and it's like, yeah, that's not something you would love to see, but they're winning the game with just the field goals. It's the defense. It's just all phases of the team kind of working as one to make sure they get the win. And to me, that's what a contender is.
Yep. Then the 3 seed on the AFC side, the Steelers. I think, as much as I love Justin Fields, I think if Fields were still their quarterback and they were still just squeaking out wins and he was throwing for like maybe a touchdown a game, I would probably be labeling them as pretenders. I think with Russ, they've been bumped up to contenders, though. They're showing to be a potent offense. Their defense is as good as ever. And I don't see them slowing down. And they're in a tough division, but they're leading it right now.
Yeah, it's a tough division, and they, at first I thought, okay, Russ is playing well because there's like the talk of whether or not he'd be the starter, and there's not a tape on what Russ has been with this offense yet. But this week there was tape on what the offense looked like with him, and he looked miles better than last week. So if you think that the trajectory is going to at least stay even, like if he keeps this level of play, if he doesn't get better from right here, I think that they're still contenders. And we've seen Steelers fall apart late in the year, 11-0 season for them. That was ugly.
Yeah.
But it also was ugly how they got to 11-0. And this is Steelers football. Like, they're not going to ever really win pretty. They're not going to win convincingly. But when you got TJ Watt and your offense is able to go despite Arthur Smith trying to not make it go, it's hard to say that they're pretenders when they've played as well as they've had, like, especially with Russ. Like, damn it, why did Russ have to look this good?
It's a Sean Payton problem. It's not a Russ problem. 3 seed of the NFC. Let's blitz through these a little bit faster if we can. Mm-hmm. Falcons here. I think they're contenders. Well put together offense, and I don't know about their defense, but if their offense can keep scoring, they can keep winning games.
Yeah. I think contenders, and on the defensive side, Jesse Bates is doing things.
True,
He's
they've got
doing
Bates
great
and
things.
Simmons, yeah.
And they've really locked up that position. They refuse to get pass rush. Don't know why, but
they got Judon. They tried.
Yeah, they preferred him over. They'd rather have Michael Penix and Matt Judon than anybody else. You're right.
Yeah. And then 4 seed in the AFC, the Bills, definitely contenders. They just got Amari Cooper as well, so he's still getting worked into that offense. He didn't get a ton of. I don't think he saw a ton of snaps this past week, but they didn't need him to. They were pretty dominant from the outset, so no reason to risk injury to your top guy. Well, probably second guy now. Keon Coleman's popping off.
True. Contenders here for sure. They're trending upwards. They made a trade to make sure they continue to trend upwards. And Josh Allen is playing fantastic. He's keeping the ball safe. It's, abnormal when you look at the, little recent history of Josh Allen. But they're doing it. They're contending. It's going to be a deep playoff run for them. We'll see how it ends. And then kicking off into the 4 seed of the NFC, we have the Cardinals, and this is the first one that I'm kind of feeling is a little bit of a pretender. They're 4-4. They're only here because they're the top of the NFC West, because the NFC West is 4-4 across the board nearly, and it's a tight-knit division. We kind of called out the Seahawks for being pretenders when they were 3-0. And the Cardinals at 4-4, they aren't doing enough consistently. When they play good, they play great. And if they showed that more often than they do, then I would have no worry calling them contenders. But they don't.
Yeah.
They flip on a dime on what team's going to show up on Sunday.
Yeah, agreed there. I think they're good, and they can be good, but they need to stop making these games so close. Like, they need to actually show that they can dominate a team, because I feel like all of their wins have or at least 2 of their wins have been last-second field goals, and the other 2 I can't even remember them. But it was Packers and Dolphins. They won on a last-second field goal attempt, I think, and that was just like they can't rely on that for the whole season.
Back to the AFC, we got the number 5 seed with the Broncos, and this one, boy oh boy, it's hard to even support the Broncos. And it's crazy when you consider the play of the division that on this AFC side we have three teams from the AFC West. Um, I kind of have the Broncos as a pretender. I think that they make the playoffs still. That, shocker. I don't think they're going to contend in the playoffs whatsoever. They're going to be a wild card loss, exit. They just simply aren't playing. They're playing the way the Broncos have played for the past few seasons. Just somehow they're getting more wins in the win column than they have previously. Bo Nix is playing, better than I'd say any of their past quarterbacks have been of recent memory. Russ.
What about
But I don't
Paxton
think
Lynch,
that's
man?
enough.
First round pick Paxton Lynch. Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think the Broncos are pretenders. It's just that Sean Payton loves running the system that Bo Nix has run for the past 5 years of college ball, or 6 years of college ball, however long he was in there. But he's run that same like just short dink and dunk system, and Sean Payton loves it. So they're a match made in heaven, and unfortunately, it's leading to success. Shout out Matt, I guess.
On to the fifth seed of the NFC, NFC North rival here. We got the Packers, and they felt a little shaky at first, but they're still winning games. They're still able to. Like Matt LaFleur is a genius. Like it doesn't matter if you have Malik Willis or if you have Jordan Love, they're winning games. And so I've got them still being contenders as much as it hurts me to say.
Yeah, I agree. I think Malik Willis has the best passer rating in the league with minimum of 30 attempts or something like that. So, yeah, it's kind of insane what they've been able to do with him. And I think they said something about him checking out of a play this past week when he had to come in for Jordan Love. Like he called an audible at the line and scored or got like a big play out of it. So, or no, it was the Jaden Reed wheel route. That was not the play that LaFleur had called. Malik Willis switched it to that, and it worked out for him. So if he's able to be a competent quarterback and Jordan Love is, Brett Favre reincarnated, but actually good sometimes, I think they'll be good. They'll be contenders.
Yep. Now onto the sixth seed AFC. We got the Ravens. The Ravens, they're contenders. This is, we had our questions since we got past like number 3 on if these people were going to be contenders. The Ravens, they're just contenders. They might not be at the top of the AFC North. That's the Steelers. That's why they're not at 3. But they are very good. Their defense is shaky.
I mean, shaky at
when
best.
You have an offense,
their defense is not good this year.
Yeah. When you have the offense being as potent as it is, if some wide receivers could just catch the damn ball,
Cough, cough. Deontay Johnson trade.
Yeah, they did make sure that they could get someone that could catch the damn ball. That was Deontay Johnson in the 6th for a 5th, right? You said.
Yeah,
that was the.
It was, and it's all this year, so it's basically the Panthers moving up like probably 15 spots at the most, and it's in exchange for Deontay Johnson. But yeah, I think the Ravens are contenders as long as they're playing good teams. I think they check themselves out of games against bad teams too much. It's why they have losses to the Raiders and the Browns, and it's why Lamar Jackson only has one loss to an NFC team, and it was the Daniel Jones-led Giants. So they get too cocky, I feel like. They check themselves out of they'll play a bad team, they'll score like 25 unanswered, and then they'll be like, all right, guys, just coast. And then the bad team just is like, oh, they're coasting? Okay, let's win. And they win. But yeah, still contenders.
They meet their opponent. They don't rise above the opponent. They meet them there, and they play a competitive, tough game that they, somehow will let get away from them if it's just a really bad week for the defense.
Yeah, but I think when they're playing good teams, they'll be able to, they'll take it more seriously. So come playoff time, as long as they make the playoffs, I think they'll be just fine.
Yep. Number 6 seed in the NFC, we got the Vikings. They were sitting pretty at 5-0, and they've dropped 2 in a row, 1 to the Lions, 1 to the Rams, and as if you look at the Rams' record, like it's not the best record, but it's one that really is an outlier. Like this game for the Rams, they had everybody back and healthy. So I'm not going to say like, oh, well, the Vikings just lost to a bad team. No, they lost to Stafford being Stafford and having his wide receivers back. So I don't take these two losses to mean much for the team. However, it really will define them where they go from here. But right now, I still have them as contenders. They have had an elite defense. It's just that when they play an elite quarterback, elite defenses tend to, not be as elite, and that's just no surprise there.
Yeah, they've got losses against Jared Goff and Matt Stafford, and I don't know if I'd classify Jared Goff as like an elite quarterback, but that Lions offense is an elite offense, so it's tough for anything to defend against them. But yes, I agree. Yep. They are contenders yet.
Yep. Hey, look at that. The 2-6 seeds both gaining that contender tag right there. And then number 7 of the AFC, we got the Chargers. And I just don't have much faith in the Chargers this year. This year, it's a hardball first year. It's not going to all come together immediately. I kind of have them as pretenders. They haven't had healthy Herbert for a little bit. Now they got players actively targeting him. And I feel like this is, if any team on here was going to be a hard pretender, I think it's the Chargers for making this list.
Yeah, they're just not convincing in any of what they do. I think that there are plenty of teams in the AFC that are getting healthy and going to be getting better. Namely the Dolphins and the Bengals, where I think they'll probably edge out the Broncos and the Chargers. And I wouldn't be shocked if the playoff picture was Chiefs, Texans, Steelers, Bills, Ravens, Bengals, and Dolphins, or something like that. There may be another AFC team that I'm just completely spacing on, but yeah.
None that coming to mind for me right now.
Yeah, Chargers, I am again agreeing. I think they are the most pretendy of the teams in here.
On to the Eagles, the 7th seed of the NFC. Okay, so, there was certainly fire the head coach calls early on, and they certainly looked worthy of firing a head coach early on. And then they've had a couple weeks of actually stringing together good-looking games and dominant win this week. But I still just can't really get much faith behind them. If they are a contender, I'll eat my words. But right now, I don't trust what they have. It's the same argument I had with the Cardinals. The Eagles, they have been inconsistent, but they have just been able to win more. Like, okay, they're 5-2, Cardinals are 4-4. The Eagles are inconsistent and win versus the Cardinals, who are inconsistent and then sometimes lose. I don't believe in the Eagles. I haven't from the start. I don't think Nick Sirianni is exactly a great role model or personality in the room. And I've got the Eagles being a pretender as well at number 7.
I think I'm going to disagree with you here. I think they are contenders. I don't think the West is strong enough, or the East, sorry. I don't think the East is strong enough for them to actually feel like pretenders. And I think that Saquon being there really elevates the offense. And Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean have been looking better as the season goes on, as rookies typically do. So they may have started out a little rough, specifically Cooper, but I definitely think they're trending up, and their team is whole, if that makes sense. Like, they've no Jason Kelce, still got a good offensive line, great running back, competent enough quarterback, great receivers, and then the defense, if it can, keep its head on, then they'll be just fine.
Yeah. I'll counter your opinion there with, I have 100% faith in all of the players, that the players are good players and they have talent. It is simply the coaching sphere of the game planning to be competent enough to win in the playoffs. I think that, if I think that they could make the playoffs, I do. I think that they'll get smoked in the playoffs by any good team, because I don't see them. They have an easy schedule moving forward. As you said, the East is light this year, and they're going to kind of be able to beat up on these teams to make the playoffs. And then when they meet adversity is when it's all going to kind of crumble down in the playoffs.
It all remains to be seen, but I think they're going to be a little bit better than you think. I think you've got a bit of an anti-Eagles bias, and I acknowledge it, and I kind of agree that I don't really like them, but I think they're a little bit better than you're giving them credit for. But we shall see, and I will
they've trended good this past few weeks for me to think like more of them. But then it's like they gain a cockiness after a couple of games of seemingly being competent, and I don't like that vibe. So I'm not yet bought in on them, despite the fact that I like where they're heading.
Yeah, I think that Sirianni is like the Queen of England. Like he don't actually do anything. He's just kind of there. Like you just look at him and you're like, that's the head coach. But what does the head coach do? He doesn't call offensive plays. He doesn't call defensive plays. He doesn't even talk to the team. So I think that he is the incompetent part of that group, and he doesn't do anything. So I don't think he can hurt them that much outside of just in the media. But that, again, this is I will be happy to eat my words if they end up sucking. So we'll just have to wait and see there. But now we can get into NFL stocks. Thank y'all for watching this segment. If you did enjoy that, let us know what you think about the contenders and pretenders. Give us your opinions. Disagree with us. Yell at us even.
Please, Eagles fans, get in the comments and give me good reasons to change my mind. Outside of like, oh, I love Nick Sirianni. How can you hate him?
He's so
Don't
nice.
say it, please.
Yeah. But into NFL stocks now. I have looked at this long and hard and have decided that I will not be making any moves today.
It was a rough week for us. We both lost net worth, both dropped our values there. I think I lost like $500 in value just in 1 week. That tends to happen when I have, $5,000 in different various team stocks, but I'm not super keen on not making a move because I've got a couple ones that actually did make me a little bit of profit. All of these teams, I have faith down the line that they will continue to increase. So this is another week of no moves for me as well, despite the fact that I really was itching to make a move.
Into, I believe, PickEms if we're not making any stock moves. Do you want to kick us off?
I'll go ahead and I'll kick us off. Look at that. Same wavelength.
Wow.
I'll go ahead and I'll kick us off with Thursday night football. We got Texans at Jets. Even Diggsless, I feel that this is a Texans handedly. The Jets have not. Aaron Rodgers is just not really doing it this year, and this feels like the beginning of the very, very possible soon end for Aaron Rodgers. It would kind of suck to see him end as poorly as he's ending, but very few go out on top, and I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to be one of those names. Texans, I have beating them this week.
Yep, I agree with you there. Then into the Cowboys at the Falcons. Man, I've got a gnat in my room. I've got the Falcons over the Cowboys here, and that is actually going to be my lock of the week. It is not a lock I'm super confident in, but I have not locked the Falcons yet, and I was equally unconfident in every other matchup. So if there's one team I can count on to lose and to fail, it's the Cowboys.
Yeah, I agree. I got the Falcons this week. Very interesting lock, though. I have a couple other options, but to be fair, I don't know what teams you have already locked, and we kind of do a thing here where we try to not lock the same team too many times in a row. So, there's that to consider as well. I don't know.
I've already locked the Bengals and the Commanders, so I can't take those easy matchups, unfortunately.
Gotcha. Next up, we got the Dolphins at the Bills. I've got the Bills for this one. It feels like Josh Allen kind of owns the division the past few years, and I don't think after the showing the Dolphins did last week, they're really going to come back fierce and beat the Bills of all teams.
Agreed. Bills over Dolphins in that one. Then Raiders at Bengals. I've got the Bengals pretty handedly in this one. If I hadn't already locked the Bengals, I probably would be locking them here. But I used my lock on them, I believe, over the Giants or Panthers, the Panthers in week 4.
Uh-huh.
So same team, honestly. I don't really see the difference between those two. But yeah, Bengals over Raiders pretty easily there. And then into the you
You're right. I don't need to make a pick.
okay.
That's
I
you're
wasn't
just
sure.
gloss right over
I
me.
forgot. So that yeah. Anywho.
Yes, I agree. I got the Bengals in this one. I used my lock of the Bengals when they played the Giants, so I also cannot use it right now. But then we got the Chargers against the Browns, and this is an interesting one because we kind of just spoke on how this could be the time that Jameis turns it on and they rally the Browns, and then we are lacking some faith in the Chargers here, and I'm gonna agree with those sentiments. I'm gonna have the Browns winning this one. The Chargers, it's just hard to put much faith in the way that they've been playing as of late.
Yeah.
Like they had a great game. Lyle McConkey, he popped off. But I think that the Browns are also like they're in the same spot really. Like they both gained recent momentum, but the Browns did it against a actually tough opponent. So
Yeah, I worry that the Browns winning against the Ravens is just because it was divisional, but I'm also going to go with them over the Chargers here. And then we get into my Patriots taking on the Titans. I'm gonna do a conditional thing. I've done it before based on injury. Drake May exited last game with a concussion. If he passes protocol and is good to go, I'm taking the Patriots over the Titans. If he does not pass protocol and is not good to go, I will switch it to the Titans over the Patriots.
that sounds good to me. I've got the Patriots outright in this one, but if Will Levis doesn't go, I'm gonna conditionally switch it to the Titans. It, it's an odd condition, Oh, the starting quarterback is going to be coming back. Why would you switch it? For fun. Then we've got the Colts at the Vikings. Now not starting Anthony Richardson Colts. I had the Vikings winning this one with Flacco. He's an old man. He can't evade pressure, so he's going to have to mentally outdo the pressure. But the pressure has also been schemed really well against quarterbacks who are mentally good and not just physically raw. So I've still got the Vikings in this one.
Yeah, for sure a bounce back game for them. Statue in the pocket Joe, I don't think can evade the six men that the Vikings send every play. And then Commanders at the Giants, that is a divisional matchup. I've got the Commanders handedly taking this one. They showed out against the Bears, if you can call it that. They showed out on one play against the Bears.
Yeah.
And I think the Giants absolutely suck. So we'll go ahead and take them.
Yep. The Commanders played a really tough defense last week, and the Giants aren't that. So I've got the Commanders in this one pretty safely. Next, we got the Saints at Panthers. It's just so hard to ever root for the Panthers, despite this being probably the closest matchup they've had all year. I've still got the Saints in it, though.
Yeah, I've got the Saints as well. I tweeted out, I was sitting in class on Monday, and I was like, I wonder what the passing charts look like for the year against the Panthers. And so I looked into it because I had seen Bo Nix's passing chart against the Panthers last week, and I was like, damn, they made Bo Nix look like that? Okay, let me see how everybody else looked. So if you go to my Twitter right now, it's on there. I tweeted the first four and then responded to it with the next four, and it is something how good the Panthers defense can make opposing quarterbacks look. So I will go ahead and take the Saints here. Rattler or Carr, doesn't matter. I think Rattler even more than Carr. So, and then into the Broncos at the Ravens. The Broncos have been cooking lately. They really have. But the Ravens need a win. They really do. And I will never believe in the Broncos as long as I live. So, go Ravens.
I am perfectly fine believing in the Broncos at some point in my life. I won't make that stand. But I need to actually see more of it with my own eyes to put any faith in them going against the Ravens of all teams. I've got the Ravens as well in this one. And then we've got the Bears at Cardinals. Now, you want to know a really funny trend that, Elijah at Franchise Tagged has been doing the entire season?
Have you still not predicted
right.
a Cardinals game correctly?
Well, you see, last week I agreed with you, and I was like, hopefully that'll be my first, and we both were wrong. So, no, I have not predicted a Cardinals game correctly. I've not said that they were going to win, and they've won. I've not said that they're going to lose, and they lost. It hasn't happened. And so, against my gut feeling, I have to pick them to win because I had them losing. My initial thought was, oh, they're going to lose. And I just can't bring myself to know that they're just gonna. It's not gonna happen. All right. If I whatever I pick, it's not gonna happen. So mentally, I have to switch it up, go with the inverse of what I actually believe in, and that's I got the Cardinals winning this one.
Just the fact that you cannot predict them correctly makes me want to flip my pick to the Bears over the Cardinals. But I will not do it. I will stick with my guns and say that the Cardinals are going to take the Bears on in Arizona. I don't know why. I just feel like Marvin Harrison's coming into his own, and they're finally utilizing him correctly. I feel like every time he has a good week, I'm like, oh, they finally know what they're doing. And then he has one catch on 2 targets for 6 yards, and it's like, okay, no, they don't. Got it. But we'll see. We'll see what happens here. I think they need to turn it on if they want to continue to be competitive. So it's kind of now or never. And then we get into the... Wow, we didn't shout out the shit show of the week.
We did not. That's my bad.
What was it? I forgot. Saints Panthers. Saints Panthers. Yeah. No, I'll throw it up on there and post.
Boom, boom, boom,
I won't
retroactively.
It'll be up there when we're talking. We just won't have mentioned it. But we did now. So into our game of the week. Stamp it up there. Lions at Packers. Can't bet against the Lions. Just can't do it. They've got safeties that love sucking in balls, and Jordan Love has a certain affinity for chucking them things. So I think the Lions are going to get a couple picks, and I don't think that their offense is going to turn the ball over too much. So
yeah, I think that this is going to be a fun one. Hence the game of the week moniker we have given it. But I'm a homer. I'm going to pick the Lions, and even if I wasn't a homer, I would not be picking the Packers. We got the Rams at Seahawks next up, and I've got the Rams in this one. The Seahawks, they got beat up on. They really did. And if someone's going to be shouting slurs on the field, they can't say it to Cooper Kupp when they tackle him. Just a fun little shout out to Devin Witherspoon there. But yeah, Rams win in this one.
Hey, big news. So when we were going through the process of the pre-recording stuff, I peeked at your pick'ems and I was like, cool, we've got 2 different ones. You have since flipped those 2, so now we have identical pick'em sheets again. So I was
way to spoil the last one.
I was thinking, right? Well, I mean, they don't know what either of us have picked for the last ones, but I was thinking about flipping my pick from the Rams to the Seahawks. Now I am for sure flipping my pick from the Rams to the Seahawks, just so we don't have identical sheets. I think...
Hey, it worked out well for us last week.
It worked out okay for us last week. I had an off week compared to the 2 before it, but
2 prior.
I think the Rams are good, but I think the Seahawks really missed DK. So if he's back, I will feel more confident in them. And Geno's played really good. They just kind of got unlucky with some fumbles and some... I think Geno got stepped on a 4th and goal from the 1. So that they couldn't get the playoff because his foot got stepped on by his center. So there was just like there was just a couple unlucky things, and I think the Bills are legit. So I'll go ahead and take the Seahawks in that one. And then Jaguars heading to Philly, taking on the Eagles. I said it before, I don't hate the Eagles that much, and I think they're a good team. On the other hand, I think the Jaguars are a terrible team. And they are getting right back to their good old Jaguars ways in a similar fashion to the Jets, getting back to their good old Jets ways. Now, one is more fun for me as a Patriots fan to watch than the other, but I will be taking the Eagles here.
Yep, I'm matching that pick for the Eagles, and I'm also hitting it with a lock of the week. As I said, they're trending in a good direction, and as much as I outwardly express distaste and hate for the team, I know for a fact that they can beat up on bad teams. That's what they do well, and that's why I'm locking them this week for that particular matchup.
Can't wait for a 42-3 Jaguars victory. All right, you lead us off
go crazy.
Monday Night Football.
Yep, Monday Night Football. We got the Buccaneers visiting the Kansas City Chiefs, and I think that this was my runner-up. Honestly, my personal runner-up for Game of the Week. I think that both quarterbacks they get the job done. Baker Mayfield looks fun while doing it. Patrick Mahomes looks like he's got a dad bod. He's 40 years old. He's just coming home from his 9 to 5. He's got to just throw the football around the field, but somehow he does it running fast. I've got the Chiefs in this one purely for the dominance of the defense. However, the Bucs have been very good against the run, as they always are, because Vita Vea is a large man, and the Chiefs have been heavily relying on that run. So the game could go either way. And trying to predict picking against the undefeated team is difficult. So it's going to keep happening until they lose. So I'm going to pick for the Chiefs here.
Yeah, I think they will lose one eventually. I think it could be this one.
Yeah.
In fact, I think I'm tempted to pick the Bucs because I don't like how the Chiefs offense is playing. And I think if there's a team that can beat the Chiefs defense, they will absolutely win the game. I don't know if that's the Bucs, but I think it could be the Bucs. I will be taking the Chiefs just so I'm not mad when they win. But if they lose, I will be celebrating heavily because they will be exposed as a fraudulent offense because that's the only way they're going to lose. But that is the episode. You have any words of wisdom for these people to live their lives by?
And that's all, folks. No, I have no words of wisdom. There's no thoughts.
Words of wisdom. Oh my God.
There's never a thought in this head of mine. So no words of wisdom other than subscribe, hit the bell, comment down below, and interact with everything we do. Subscribe to everything. Follow everything. Spotify's, Twitter's, the channel.
All of it.
I can't think of anything else.
Everything.
We have.
All
TikTok.
Of it. Do it. Yes, TikTok's
do
great.
Do it all.
Yeah, I may start doing some like actual TikToks instead of just posting shorts. We'll see. It might happen. I don't know. I need free time to do that, but we'll see. Ava, shout out. And with that,
rolling around, I wanted to capture it.
And with that,
Alrighty. Deuces.
Deuces.